So in this country, in every single zip code in America today, you have zip codes where the life expectancy is about 20 to 30 years less than the zip code with the highest life expectancy. Life expectancy for those zip codes is lower than the life expectancy in Nicaragua, which is the second poorest country in the Western Hemisphere for the last 35 or 40 years.
So when you think about healthcare, there's a lot that's broken. The system is not designed for health. The system is really designed for transactions and hospital visits and for sickness.
The concept of healthcare is people make money when people get sick. And when you're trying to figure out how to make money by making people better, it fundamentally changes your approach. And most people in America don't know how to prevent people from getting really sick. Because you make money when they get sick. Everybody wants people to be sick. They may not want it personally, but that's actually the economic model. And when you have a model like that, the people who get forgotten are the poor people. So we have a problem where rich people live longer, poor people live shorter, and now you're having a massive life expectancy divide.
My parents are immigrants from Taiwan, and it was just my brother and I growing up in Miami with a whole lot of African American, Hispanic, Jewish kids.
I mean, I was a really tall Asian kid growing up in South Florida. There's a lot of different races in South Florida. Asian is not really one of them. We went through so many different economic stages. We started off incredibly poor. Next decade, I was the son of a doctor because he had finished school. And so my life changed pretty rapidly. Asian families, they tell you, you can have your dreams, and then your parents will tell you what you're gonna do. My dad came home when I was 5 and said, son, I'd love for you to be a doctor. We can work together. And I said, sounds great. So that became my path.
We were just living, the dream, right? As a family pursuing our goals. My brother had started his cardiology fellowship in New York at a very prestigious program.
So I joined a family that they've always been a very close family.
I was in medical school. Things were going great. Then we got a phone call, and my father, who typically doesn't ask for any help, called me and asked me to pick him up because he couldn't drive.
I was getting ready to finish my training and come home, and then we get this diagnosis.
He just heard the news. He had a 5-centimeter mass behind his nose, and the doctor told him he's got about 2 months to live. Time slowed down, and I thought, my goodness, I'm gonna go pick up my father and drive him, the man who taught me how to drive him home, and we're gonna figure out what to do.
So we realized very quickly that that long-running dream that we had planned for may not have been a reality. So came home, and he had to go get treatment, learned about what he was doing. My dad had created this concept, and he taught me everything that he was doing. He said, let me explain to you what I'm doing. I'm taking care of these patients. I'm trying to figure out how to make them healthier. I gotta be preventative. We gotta wrap around them. We gotta see them a lot. We gotta, maybe every month, we gotta know everything that's happening with their specialists. We gotta know everything that's happening in the hospital. And I know that's not, I know that everybody else doesn't do it that way, but this is the only way to take care of this population. Nobody practices medicine that way, not in the United States. But nobody can afford to do it. Can't afford to take care of those people. So you gotta create a model that is A, affordable, and B, turns healthcare upside down. And the best way to make healthcare affordable is to lower healthcare costs. Well, how do you lower healthcare costs? Stop bad things from happening. We aren't trained to stop bad things from happening. We're trained to make money when bad things happen. So he literally had to invent a care model that tries to stop bad things from happening, and then brought that to poor people. And that's the model that he created.
And so we were planning a wedding for December of that year, and in October is when his dad got sick. And so he called me on a Friday and said, do you want to get married tomorrow? I said, sure.
We ended up having an emergency wedding to make sure my dad, could be there for the wedding. And that was a pivotal moment for our family.
If you think about the way the business started, and his father had his clinic in Miami, and he got diagnosed with what they told him was a terminal brain tumor. They were all highly educated medical professionals, very familiar with the healthcare system. They had the hardest time navigating it to try to get their father the best health care that they could. The result of all this, of course, was that Dr. James actually came out of it, survived, and is doing very well. He's still part of the business today.
It was amazing to see, even throughout the suffering, watching God save my dad. And healing him, but then also allowing us to suffer at the hands of really a broken healthcare system. It's very transactional, it's not relational. Incentives drive behaviors, and all of the incentives in healthcare tend to be around number of visits, hospitalizations, number of procedures. And so that's the business of medicine, experiencing that as a patient and fighting for your dad's life.
When they decided at that point that they wanted to see healthcare fully transformed, if they couldn't do it, how could anybody else? And so the whole model that they've been building at ChenMed is to try to help take away that necessity at the patient level to try to navigate all this stuff.
So our work in ChenMed taught us that you can help people to live longer even if they have multiple chronic conditions. We were dropping hospitalization rates 30 to 50% consistently. And we were helping seniors, average age in their mid-70s with 5 to 7 chronic conditions. We're helping them to live 5 to 7 years longer.
And from there, we started asking those questions. How do we scale it? Who do we need to talk to about scale? Ultimately, when that started to go to 5, 7 locations and then beyond, and we just kept growing. Took no investors, just kept growing.
This family, when they started their business, and they had a very successful sort of clinic down in South Florida. And Chris actually had a vision for something that could be bigger and broader and expand it.
And God just had us on an incredible journey. Learned a lot about ourselves, our family members. We got to the point where the business was a very fast-growing business. And it was a very messy type of, situation where you didn't know if this was an owner's meeting, a board meeting.
Family meetings where we all had different roles, and I think we were all trying to figure out where each of our operational roles started and ended.
And we needed help. And this is where getting the involvement of Blue Trust, and in particular Skip Perkins.
When I went down to our first meeting down at their home, they just launched in with, all right, this is where we are, this is what's going on. And I was like, all right, let's go. And so I started getting to know them, and from that point forward, we really just started building just a deep relationship of understanding their passion for how they're serving. They really do see everything's a gift from God.
What Blue helped us do was professionalize in a kingdom-aligned way. We're going to build clarity and succession for the kids and the family. And so they were deeply involved in that.
Even as the, sort of size of the business now has become, significantly greater, they still hold it with a very open hand and say, where does God want to go with it? Where there's a family business, there's usually some major event within 3 generations to where it all changes. And so that's really at the heart, in a lot of ways, of what we do at the family office, is helping families understand, what are your options when you've got a business. How do you prepare and equip the next generation?
As a Christian family, we're thinking about kingdom building impact, eternal impact. And then we kind of work backwards and say, hey, if we're serving God with our time, talent, treasure, if everything that we have here is really dedicated to God, is God's, then it becomes about stewardship. And then stewardship not for building our family's quote unquote kingdom, but for building God's kingdom.